Hi everyone, my name is Tony Willay, and I'm going to talk to you today about why I think the grandfather paradox does not exist. Why? Because this is driving me nuts, and I just want to talk about it. So, the reason why I want to talk about the grandfather paradox is because I've been having conversations with people about how it doesn't exist. And I really feel like it doesn't exist. There's no physical explanation why it doesn't exist because it can't. Not in our universe. Recently, a study came out about a particle that's shaped like a pear, and it explains how time travel cannot exist. And I actually found that kind of relieving. I would hate the simple fact that time travel existed. It drives me nuts, but I feel like time travel doesn't exist because in the grandfather paradox, your future self, decides to go back to the past. Kill your grandfather so that way you don't exist anymore in the future. But the reason I feel like that doesn't exist and why it can't exist is because we live and exist in a dimensional universe. Our universe is divided in dimensions. We have mass, matter, liquids, solids, all that stuff. And if you think about it in a dimensional term, it makes the ideology that, let's say, water is a dimension of its own. So you go into that water, and then when you come out of the water, you're in another dimension where it's air. And you can exist in, as humans, we can exist in both, but we can't exist in the water one for very long without having gills or something like that, or something that we can breathe oxygen in. Space is another ideology, that space is a dimension of its own. When we leave the Earth's atmosphere, that's a dimension. So we're going to talk about it like that. So these are dimensions. So, let's say you decide you want to go kill your grandfather in the past. You create a device or something, some type of machine, some way you find a way to go to the past. And you successfully kill your grandfather. You then realize you're still going to exist. And the question is, why? You see, you went to the past. You decided you went to the past. You actually went to the past and you killed what you thought was your grandfather. But the question is, why do you still exist? Because you didn't kill your grandfather. You killed a grandfather of yourself, but of another dimension. You didn't go to the past in your dimension. You went to the past of another dimension. A whole new universe. Technically, you going through that portal basically might have just literally created a brand new universe. But in the past of that universe, you killed your future self of that universe. But you couldn't kill yourself of your universe. So you basically made it so that way you didn't exist in that universe. So that's interesting. You basically murdered an unknown man. You didn't murder your grandfather. You murdered someone else's grandfather. And the way our universe is set up, that makes a lot of sense. There's no way you could go back to the past. So let's bring up Back to the Future of Marty McFly. Marty McFly decides to go to the future to change his past. And the way in the movies describe it is that there's these different pasts and they transition. In theory, it can make sense, but in reality, it doesn't. That can't exist. You see, Marty McFly, actual past, never changed. Instead, Marty McFly, when he changed his future, he went to the future, and he changed his past. He ended up basically going to another dimension where he basically existed in that other dimension, where basically a whole new universe was created. But his past still remained the same. And the question is why? And it comes down to dimensional theory and individual consciousness. That the ideology of that you exist and that you always will exist created that new past. One, with his actions, and then two, himself going into that new universe that he created. Anyway, I can't go any more beyond that because my comprehension isn't fully there. But that's my theory. That's why the grandfather paradox can't exist, because we live in a dimensional universe. And not just dimensional universe, we live in dimensional universes. And that explains why the time travel and the dimensional in our universe we can never travel back to the past in our universe. Because there's endless dimensions. Anyway, my name's Tony Willay. Tell me what you think of my little crazy theory. And have a nice day. Deuce.